welcome everybody to my video. This video is going to be in multiple parts in one video that I'm putting together. I just finished this on camera with you guys. I'm backtracking to make a little video to let you know that I'll be reviewing these Kingart markers and showing you step by step with every color how I did this picture, including the glossy mermaid tail, the fish effects, the eyes, the sparkly nails, and everything else. You'll see here all the details I did on this beautiful picture. So even if you don't have the markers or the books, feel free to watch to learn some techniques. Fast forward to where you like to learn how to do these on your own pictures. And let's begin the review and the color along. Hi friends, this is Emily. Welcome to my color along. Today we're going to be coloring with Kingart Pro alcohol markers and Derya Cakirsoy's Color in Ocean Mermaids. And I'm going to do a full review of the markers, show them in action, and get started. And I'll even tell you the colors I'm using, show you some techniques as we go. So first I'm going to cut in my review I did of these markers on a different table because I can't fit them into my camera. Then we will come back and resume the color along. Okay, so I'm doing this video on my kitchen table because this is a big case and it was hard to fit well into my camera. So again, this is the Kingart Pro 120 double-ended alcohol marker set with the fine and the chisel tip. These are alcohol markers. It comes in this really neat plastic carrying case. It's fairly heavy. On the back you can see all of these colors. Obviously colors when you swatch them on paper will look a little bit different. I was pleased to see they had skin tones in here, so I've done some skin tone blending to get some good combos, and we're going to do one of those today in the color along. And it has a great black, it has everything you need in here, good assortment of colors. This set is $99 on Amazon right now. I do think for 120 markers, and they are really good quality. I do think that, and mine are a little mixed up because I was using them, I do think it's definitely worth it. You know, they're better than shuttle art markers. Not quite the same super liquidy, juicy kind of as a Copic and a Tombow Pro, but pretty close to the Tombow Pro. Like, especially on paper that has a little bit more gloss, like we're going to do in this Derya Cakirsoy paper. She has a more premium Amazon paper. It has a little bit of a shine to it. Or any of your Etsy printables, if you have the good paper. I haven't tried them in an Amazon book. I tend to not use my better markers in many Amazon books with the really cheap paper that you might get like in a Hannah Carlzon book because, I'm sorry, Hannah Lynn book, because it absorbs it, you know, faster. Now if it's smaller areas, I will, but I love them. And we're gonna do the color along, and you can see it coloring in action. I'll tell you the colors I use. And you know, if you're not sure, you can buy it, try it out for a weekend. If you don't like it, return it. I mean, I hate to say that, but I wouldn't use up a ton of ink or all the colors, but give it a shot. You can, on Amazon, they let you buy things on Affirm, which is, or like on 3, 4, 5 payments, you know, 20 bucks or whatever. I've gotten a lot of things on Affirm that way through Amazon. And if you're new to using markers, before you jump into something so expensive as the Copic or the Shin Hand Touch or the Prismacolor markers, I would go with something like this over like the cheap Bianco markers or the Spectrum Noirs or Shuttle Arts or the Artex. These are better, definitely better than the Artex, definitely better than the Shuttle Arts. So anyway, I just wanted to show you, look at all those grays. There's a lot of greens and a lot of yellows. This is one reason I loved this set, because there's so many yellows. And I like my nature tones, and look at all these greens. So there's really a good amount of, lot of pinks, lot of greens, a good amount of grays, lots of grays and neutrals. Lots of different blues, great for these ocean colors. Not a lot of purples and not a lot of reds, but I feel like there's enough, because you can color blend to get different shades of red, and there's enough of the earth tones that this is what I really wanted. So I am definitely pleased. And so we are going to go ahead and get started with the color along. Okay, so we're going to resume the color along and Derya Cakirsoy's Color and Ocean Mermaids grayscale coloring book, since it is Mer month. These markers work beautifully on all the Derya books and the Christine Caron books from Amazon, because they have that premium paper, which has a little bit of a mild sort of a shine and gloss. I did already do one page with these markers. I didn't finish the background, but I want to show you up front what it can look like. So this was before I didn't swatch any skin tone, so I was randomly just going for it with the colors. So she got a little too much yellow in her skin tone, which worked out fine because there's yellow in her hair and the fish. This tail has a few layers of 2 blues and a little bit of gray put in here, and I did 4 different colors for her hair. You can see which brings out the highlights. I did the green in the fish, the same green in her eyes. I put the same blue here into her lipstick to heart the bubbles. And so I'm still gonna have to do the background and her eye makeup, but I just want to show you what it can do at first glance. So I'm really happy with it. So the picture I chose for today is this one. We're going to go ahead and work on this one, and I'm going to show you the colors I'm using. This is, this is book 3, Color and Oceans book 3, which obviously means she has more than one book. I love this book, by the way. And so her books are a light gray scale, which I like, and meaning just a little bit of shadowing, enough to, if you only did a single color in certain areas, the darker shadowing will give it a nice effect, look like it has 2 different colors, even if it doesn't. So the first 2 colors I'm going to start with are 18 Peach and 137 Medium Pink for the shell. Just some simple colors. I'm going to use the chisel nip end, and these have a nice cut on them. I'm just going to go over these lines here. I'm going to also try to do this sort of simply for any of you who might be beginners with alcohol markers. I'm not going to use too many of my advanced techniques. I just want to kind of show you how these markers work. They're very, very liquidy, very fluid. Had no issues at all with anything being dry, anything like that. And so as I go, I'm going to go to this other pink and just fill in the center parts. Doing a little bit of blending over. This has a bit of a peach and a pink to it, as you can see. You could have alternatively done it different, done this darker one over the center and the lighter one on the lines that I just did, if you had wished. But I wanted the shell to have more of that kind of coral color. And I do have my alcohol blender here. Hopefully it's not running dry. I've been using it for like 2 weeks straight. And I like to do that just to kind of bring out some of those white spots. So I'm just going to take my alcohol blender. You can use any alcohol blender. I'll link below one of my favorite 3-packs. I'm just going to, I want to show you what it does. Now, if you're looking for like a crackly look or a vintage look, or you want it to look a little splotchy, because in nature, things are not a solid, flat color, right? You don't have to do what I'm doing. You can just leave it. I like it because it makes things look a little blotchy, like it has, if you look at a shell, it might have every millimeter, you know, might have a little bit of a different tone to the color. So that's completely optional. And feel free to do this in reverse, do this coral on the lines, and if you want the shell to be a brighter, sort of a pink color, but I like it this way. This chisel is really easy, and especially on this paper. And it's the premium Derya paper, doesn't hog up all alcohol marker ink because you don't have to hardly press or do much effort at all, and it just gets all that right onto the paper. So you can see the difference. Can you see that? Is it zoomed in enough? You can see the difference with and without the blender. I like my stuff to look kind of multi-dimensional if it's nature. So sometimes I might leave like every other one without the blender. I guess I like the splotchy look. It looks more natural. All right, so let's go back and do the rest of these. We'll move on to the skin tone next. I will admit I have not swatched these yet. I don't swatch right when I get something. I start coloring. I have enough skill and experience, I guess you could say, over the years to like understand enough basic concepts to use some judgment in when I'm picking how to tell if the barrel and the tip color matches the ink tip at all. And you can quickly do a stripe on a plain piece of paper if you're not sure, that kind of thing. But I'm more of a color and discover, so I'll color a few pages, get a feel for the medium, learn, you know, and then after a few uses, and then I might go do a swatch in my marker swatch book. I don't use like a swatch card because I like everything in a book. Just to, in my marker swatch book, just so when I am doing something specific, like I want this mountain to have these certain shades of green that go well together, I might need to look at it to pick a few that will be a nice contrast to one another. But you see how easy this is? Oh, what I was going to say is I'll admit the skin tones I chose I haven't used yet. The different ones than I used on the other picture. So it's gonna kind of be an experiment for me as well to see how that turns out. That is a risk. Now, if you're new, there is a risk. And see these little shadows here? Just go over it with this other pink. There is a risk, especially with skin tones. If you try to color skin before you have tested them out on a page you like less, or a test page like on a small face or something, there's a risk it won't look right. And my experienced advice, do not do your skin tone last after you've done, like here I'm doing the shell. What if I were to do the background, the turtle, the mermaid tail, the hair, and then, if you do the skin tone last and it goes to complete crap because you didn't swatch right, or in this case it's me, I didn't swatch correct, and her face ends up looking like a yellow jar of mustard, and then I try to rectify it by going over it with some African skin tones, and then it all just looks blotchy and it looks wrong, your whole picture is ruined. Or you're gonna have a gorgeous picture with a terrible looking skin tone. So if you do the skin tone first and it looks bad, you don't have to continue the picture if you don't think if you can rectify it or save it. Don't waste your time. Go on to another picture. And you don't want to waste a really nice picture. Like this book only has one of each of these pictures. I don't want to, it's a risk. Like if I don't like what we're about to do here, well, then I'll admit I chose one of the pictures in here that I didn't like as much as the others, just in case. Just want you to be aware of the risk. And this alcohol marker will continue to fade See, now it looks like a vintage faded paint on an old Victorian house inside. It's kind of, or like a parchment paper is what it looks like as it's fading. And I'll show you close up when we're done. But yeah, so always do your skin tone first or close to first. I mean, if I've had enough experience, like, okay, I've mastered all my Copic marker skin tones. I've done them enough times. I know what combos work. I don't need to worry about that. This is mostly true if you're using a brand new medium, like we are today. So I always, if it's a newer medium or I'm still getting used to them, skin first. If it looks good enough, you're satisfied. Then the hair. And don't do the hair first, because you can't really always tell what hair color will look right with the skin tone. You don't really know how your skin tone is going to turn out once it's on paper and dries. Then move on to anything else in the picture. And I always do my background last because I like to bring the colors in the center point to the outside on some level. So that's how we kind of do the color coordination. So again, every 2 squares, while there's still a little bit of wetness on it, I will do these quick run over with my blender. I probably will not do this on some of the other areas. A lot of people ask me, oh, I love how you blend your colors. How do you choose your color palette? You know, I don't know. I don't go into like an app or the color block and be like, let's look for some color combo ideas and then plan it all out before I start. I rarely have a color plan before I start. Occasionally, if I'm entering a contest or I'm let's say I'm doing a spring picture. I want a spring color palette. I want to look like ooze with spring elements. I might look up a spring palette that's different than the ones I've been doing for a little variety. Something I hadn't thought of. But I won't even use like a swatch or an app. I just go to Google and I'll be like, best colors with blue, dark blue and dark green, or best colors with purple and orange. And then it'll show you like color palettes with purple and orange. That's really the extent of what I do. Like I have a starting point idea and then I look for some visual stimulated ideas for if I need additional colors. But most of the time, I'm like this with my fashion too. Like I'm into having like great base pieces. I'm really into fashion, bright clothes, pretty frilly things, and my jewelry, my handbags, my clothes tend to coordinate with multiple colors. I'll pick, you pick the outfit, then you pick all the things that coordinate, whatever. But I don't know ahead of time what I'm gonna pick when I go in my closet. I just start looking and see what I feel like. So like, let's say these Kingart markers, when I first got them, I just open it up, I choose a picture, and I tend to just start grabbing the first 2 or 3 colors that appeal to me. Like, because I love pink, I love purple. Oh my God, look at this. Like, like the burl colors attract me. I love this color purple. So I'll just grab it and start coloring with it. And then I'll pick a purple that is similar and do that somewhere nearby. And then I might pick one of my, what I think might be a favorite pink, because I like exploring. So that's how I start. But let's say they're older markers that I know I've used and I know the colors. If I have a brand new picture, I still kind of do that. I go by feel. Like, what do I feel like? Like if I were to look at a brand new picture, I can almost just I get a quick flash of what I can see, of what it could look like. I know that the dolphin would be kind of bluish gray. I know that this would look really pretty with some muted purples, kind of almost like a gothic palette. I can just almost like quickly see it, like in my head, like really quick. And then I just start looking for colors to match what I see. That's kind of what happens. Sometimes if I'm really just, I don't care how my picture looks, it's late at night, I just want to color, I'm binge watching some documentary, which is what normally happens, I just start grabbing colors. I don't even think. And it always looks pretty decent. You know, I mean, colors are colors. There aren't a lot of colors that look terrible with one another. Think about green, for example. Green looks beautiful with blue. Green and purple looks really nice together, like the whole Hocus Pocus combo. Green looks beautiful with yellows and reds and nature and orange. Green and red for Christmas. Green looks fine with white. Green looks fine with black. Green and pink look really pretty together, like spring color palette. Green and gray, it really depends on the shade of each green and gray. Honestly, like think about it. Like there aren't a lot of colors that don't look, you can't make look good together, that look atrocious together. I mean, orange. People don't like orange. I love orange. I have orange handbags, orange cardigans, orange dresses, and orange. And I'm using a different blender than I did. I have two different blenders here, and I'm swapping back and forth because one has more than the other, and they're kind of providing a different effect. But orange looks obviously good with black. Orange looks really nice with purple. Again, the Hocus Pocus effect. Orange looks good with yellow. It looks good. Have you ever done pink and orange? That's that 60s retro pop bright colors. Looks really good together. Orange and green like you see in nature. Orange and white, of course. Orange and brown looks really good. Earth tones. It's you really can't go that wrong. So anyway, that is it for our shell. No, it's not. I lied, because you gotta look in the cracks. There's some right here between her tail and her hair, but we're going to move on to the skin tone. So if you have the set and want to color along, buy the book and buy the markers. Let's just give it a shot, and if you don't like it, send it back. Well, you can't send the book back, but you won't want to because it's a gorgeous book. You guys want to see a flip through of the book too? We're in Mer month. I'll do that here in one sec. And I'll probably have to have this be a two-part video. All right, so let's just do a little bit of this. And I'm going to zoom in so you can see a little better what I did. You might see later if you miss some spots. All right, so there we have that shell done. And I want to zoom in if I can. You can see that kind of, look at how it looks kind of like an archived, like a wallpaper or a vintage scrapbook paper. There are other things you can do. You can get a gray, dark gray colored pencil, any kind of a waxy pencil, and which I'll probably do, and go up and down, shade in over these darker gray stripes, which maybe I'll do. I do all those kind of touches at the end. I just do my bases first, but we have that shell done. So let me show you here real quick a few of these other pages in this book. I mean, I like every single picture in this book. And I've really only ever used different kinds of markers in her books. I've really never done pencils other than for touch-ups. If you do use a pencil in here, I would use a waxy pencil, like a Prismacolor, a Castle Art, a Color, not a harder oil-based pencil. I find that it's much easier to get it on this more sort of shiny paper. Isn't this book pretty? Oh god, I love this one. It makes me think of Hawaii. I have to do this video over 2 days because I have to go work out in a minute. I think there's some bonus pictures at the back, which you see here. All right, so you saw that book, probably what, 25 pictures? We're moving on to our skin tone. This is where we cross our fingers and pray, since I didn't swatch my colors, it doesn't look bad. And if that's the case, I probably wouldn't be showing the video after. All right. So, the colors I have for the skin tone, in order, you want to lay these out left to right in your work area. 108 caramel brown, 107 sand, 133 light almond, and then our blush, which is 136. Lay them left to right, darkest to light, with the blush color always on the end. So I'm going to start on the neck area and get a feel, or maybe somewhere small. If you're not sure about your skin tone, because they're new mediums, try a small area. I might even try her stomach. And I can adjust as I go. If it looks yellow, I might get a different color to overlay, or before I go on to the more visible areas. So what we're going to do, this is kind of a basic alcohol marker skin tone scenario. 103 caramel brown is the darker. I'm going to take my chisel nip, and there's a little grayscale here, a little grayscale along the arm right underneath and around the edge, and we're just going to put a little bit of this darker color in. Which is kind of going to just box in this body part. Okay, that's it. Get your next color, which is the sand, and we're going to blend over that and pull it into the middle a little bit. This looks like it has a little bit of orange, so we'll see if that ends up being too much, and I might switch colors if that's the case. But we're just bringing it down a little, just a little. That's it. We're going to go to the light almond now, and we're basically going to pull that color toward the middle and fill everything in. It's really that simple. Now, these are fantasy. These aren't necessarily human, right? These are mermaids, so it's okay if they look a little fantasy-like with their skin tones. You could even do colored skin tone, or like green or blue or whatever. So it's definitely very orangish beige. It will fade. And so what we're going to do, so I'm going to take the Barely Beige, which is 29, and I'm going to go over this a little and take a little bit of that orangish out. You can see what that looks like. Do it on your test page. And that's going to fade a little bit. So I'm going to continue. And so, yeah, all right, let's continue. That'll fade. We're going to do that dark color. Now we're going to do her neck area. So let's do some of this dark here. Now keep in mind, these can also be used for neutrals, like for sand and dirt and leaves and shrubbery. It doesn't have to just be skin tones. And I'm not saying these are necessarily even supposed to be skin tones, but these are the closest I could find in the set that work as skin tones. Normally I'll still use my Copics for skin tone, no matter what other markers I'm using for the rest, but I just wanted to give a shot and see what these skin tones can do, or what these colors as skin tones could do. So then I take in the next color, only doing a little teeny bit because it's got some of that orangey in it. Just putting a little bit of that in there. And then I'm going to get the apricot, I'm sorry, the light almond 133. I'm going to bring this down. Sometimes it'll look funky until you're all the way done. That's not abnormal. Ideally, I should be doing her arm because her arm is a part of this area, which means I'm going to go back. I'm grabbing this Barely Beige 29, filling in. I'm just going to go over, bring in, and I'm just going to go all the way over this with that Barely Beige. I'm just doing it. I'm just going for it in her arm. I'm going to pull down some of the darker color into this area. And so what I might do is take the dark one again and go a little bit over these dark spots one more time. So you have a little, you can see that like shadow a little, and that crack right there. It doesn't look terrible. Might have to swatch these and really play with, make sure I get the right blend. Now keep in mind, if you ever don't like any of what you did, after it fades and lightens, take a darker color like raw umber, go over the whole thing and turn her into like a African American or a Hispanic skin tone, and it'll look almost like there's a little bit of a glow, yellowish, more yellow tint, or Indian tint underneath. That can rectify it, but I think it looks fine. All right, so let's continue her arm. I'm on the dark again, the 103 Kermer Brown, and it is already fading, which is good. And I'm gonna do on the actual arm where there's this kind of grayscale. I'm using the fine point now. Right along the knuckles. Oh, also keep in mind you can go over anything with pencil. I like to wait a couple hours till it's all the way dry. Which really you probably only need like half an hour, but I don't always do I don't do my pencil work at the same time. Okay, I got the next color now, which is the 107, the sand. Just kind of outlining her arm there. All right, and I got the almond 133. Just leave a little white space in the center for the 29, and then bring on in that barely beige. It has a pink underlay, and this is working out fine because there's the pink underlay in the shell, and the skin tone is coordinating with the shell, like almost like the shell is part of her. We'll go back over the fingernails with white. It's fine if you go over it. Bring some of this down. And if it looks a little blotchy to you, that's okay, because skin tones are modeled. They're not just a flat color, and on real people, that is. Again, you can fix all that if you don't like it. I'm going to take the dark. This is our first color again. Then I'm going to try to bring out the shadows to see where the hand starts and the chest begins. A little bit like that. You can also take the second to last color, the light almond, and if it looks a little too mottled, I'm going to try to just kind of blend that in there. All right. And I'll take the last one again. Do a nice smooth color of that burly beige. Don't worry, it's going to fade. It does look darker, but it will fade. And again, we can go back over the whole thing. I might even just go over with a dark skin tone to show you kind of what happens. But these are fading dramatically already, which is perfect because the alcohol is drying. So I'm going to move on to her face. It's always the scary part. I'm going to use the fine end. This is the 103. I'm going to do a little bit of the shadow here around her nose, wherever you see a little bit of gray. I might go back and do those scales later, go over the skin tone because it's going to be really hard to go around it. And with mermaids, it's like, it can be a little confusing, but how to do those. Gonna give a little bit under her underline, her eyes. All right, let's do the forehead last. I work my way upward. We'll go to the 107. I'm gonna go a little bit, go back to the fine point. This is a pretty small face. I will zoom in here in a second. You guys can see what I did. A little bit in her ear. All right, I'm going to take my blush now before I go on to my final two colors. We're going to give her a little bit of pink on her cheeks right there. Always put the blush as your kind of bottom layer. It's a little tricky with those scales there. Gosh, I'm not an expert at doing mermaids. Okay, then let's go to the almond 133 and let's start to go over all of that and go over the blush area. Try to not do the scales. Keep some white on her nose to fill in with the Barely Beige 29. Then I'm going to go over the blush. Try to do a single layer so you don't get too much blending marks. Doing her ear. Trying not to get all the scales, but that's a little tricky. You can take the blush one more time, put a little bit of that pink back in. And you can always add more with pencil later. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm not going to keep touching it. Let's get the dark, the 103. Do a little outline on her forehead. And this is, mind you, a quick job I'm doing. Just to give you guys a quick color palette, color along, and some technique. And so I don't want to make this video be like 3 hours, which I could easily do. That's the second color, the 107. The third color is the 133. So we're just kind of working our way down. You can see. Blending the darkest to the lightest on down. Leave some white space. And then the final color is the 29. Let's go right on in. It's okay to go over the eyebrows if you're doing a dark color hair. I'm not sure yet, so I'm going to try not to go over those. All right. So let's let that dry. You see how that arm was darker? It's already starting to fade. And again, you can come in with pencil, touch up, shade, do whatever more you want. If you want, don't have to. Let's leave that for now. I'm going to give a little bit of that 102 raw umber on her little cleft palette there, and a little bit on the ear. And then put a little more brown right there for the shadows. And I'll probably put eye makeup on her so I don't need to worry about much shadows right there. Maybe a little bit right there. All right, that's looking pretty good. It's not, I'm gonna let it fade and then I'll zoom in. And then now we can do the arm next. To make sure my phone's not gonna die. So you can see how this picture is starting to take the color palette of peaches. A little bit of peach, orange, not even like a bright pink like my sleeve, my strawberry shortcake sweatshirt. So I originally was going to do like some purples for her tail, and I have to think about it and test a few markers to see if that's going to work. I might pick a different color palette to go with this. It's like I'm bringing this picture to life, and I might have to adjust my original vision a little bit. So I might want to do instead something that will go better with the peachy undertones. And that's another thing you could do. Oh, what colors go well with peach shades, navy blues, for example. Look it up before you pick your next markers. All right, so that's her stomach. This is my dark color. This is the 103. It's probably going to be easier just to do her whole arm. I'll come down to the hand. I don't want to, you don't want to, you only want to do one section at a time because it'll dry and it won't blend as well if you, or, you know, depends on how slow you are. I'm taking my next color, 107. Outlining a little. Let's take 133 light almond. Bring that color down inward, but leave some white space for the final color. See, if you wait too long, it's gonna not blend as well. It'll look a little more mottled because it's drying. Let's get the beige. Just kind of go right on. See how the skin tone looked a little more smooth because it was such a small area. It didn't all the way dry by the time I got to the last color. That's what I was talking about. Some browns would look good with this. Like the sand's going to look really nice with this color palette. All right, so let that dry. Let's go down to her hand. Okay. And even if you don't have this book or the markers, you can take any alcohol marker set you have, try to find similar colors and just kind of follow along what I'm doing, whether it's the color palette or technique. Obviously, I can't attest to how your marker of choice will blend, but if you, I love the Kingart markers. You know, people think, oh my God, $99 is a whole bunch for mediums. You know, I would have thought so when I was early on, 2017, 2018, 2019, when I started. But when I really started buying more expensive mediums, and this is $99 is barely mid-range, just so you know. It's not necessarily an expensive marker like what you would see as some expensive markers. You start to see the difference, and the good quality ones, you really realize it's worth every penny. If your coloring is going to be a lifelong hobby and a passion and serious for you, you really should start investing if you can afford it, if you want to, in better mediums as you go. And then you'll see your other ones, like, you don't even want to use the cheaper ones anymore. So I'm putting in some of that raw umber here where her body is to show her side, a little definition. So I will probably come touch some of this up with pencil work, but when I let that fade, I need to get a little bit, I mean, I could go over that if I wanted, but I'm liking her it being a little more peachy there, except that it stops right there. So I'm gonna have to cover that up with the scales. We'll do the matching scale color on her face there. It's okay to go over her lips because you're gonna go over that with like a lipstick. So that's basically it for the skin tone. We're gonna let that settle. By the time we finish the whole picture, we can really see how it looks. If we want to do more, you can see her face there. So it's lighter on the cheeks because of that pink, but I'm going to put on some pink Prismacolor more for her blush. So, all right. So I'm going to take my break and do my workout and come back tonight. We're going to continue the picture, but for you, it'll be instantaneous. And we will move on to the mermaid part and the tail. And there's such a small amount of water here. I'm not going to, often, like for some of these pictures, there's a lot of white space. I won't use my alcohol markers for a background, but there's such a small amount here. I'm going to pick a few blues and grays, and we are going to do our own kind of water. Show you how you can do that with alcohol marker. And so that will be next, and I'm going to see you in about a few seconds. Okay, so we're going to continue on with our mermaid. I have here 2 colors for her lips. I'm going to try out Tender Pink and Cosmos, which Often what I would do, I would make the color of the lips be the same color as the tail for like color sort of coordination, but she has some of these scales on her face, which are going to match that. And so it'd be like, and that's kind of an aqua greenish color. And so that will be a little too much. My light is just me, is the light flickering. All right. So I like to just take sometimes I'll do one that's a little darker on the top and a little lighter on the bottom. Or if the lips were bigger, has a bigger face, I would outline with the darker and fill in the lighter one. These are very similar, so you can't quite tell. It could just be like she rubbed off more on one than the other. These are really pretty pinks. I like these. Very similar. It's really pretty simple since we're keeping things on the basic level. But you can see, even though I'm not super zoomed in, you can still see how vivid pink that is. So I want to test out some of these blues for the water in one little corner here. Sometimes, you know, I haven't swatched any of these. I did do out a few on a paper. These are the 3 I chose, and so with alcohol markers and I only do backgrounds if there's like really small areas, because otherwise it just uses up too much ink. And I like to kind of swirl it a little. I have 67 pastel blue, 143 mint blue, 182 frost blue, and I'm just gonna, I have them kind of darkest to lightest. I'm just going to use the chisel nip, and I like to kind of outline the inside of the section of one little quadrant, or one little section at a time with the darker color. There's different ways you can do this. This is just one way. I'll have to show you, I guess, on a different picture the other way, because it would change the look entirely. Then I'll take the next blue and I'll just kind of blend it in. This one is like a blue or green. This one is the 143 mint blue. So a little green tint. And you know, I feel like ocean water is kind of greenish sometimes, unless you're right in the sun and on the surface level. And what I like about alcohol marker for water is the kind of, I don't want to say smeary effect, but where the two colors meet kind of makes it look like wavy, if that makes sense. Ah, lost my cap. Runaway cap. Okay, and this last is the light one, which is the frost. This might be too light. Oh dear. It's not. That's not the one I meant to grab. Oopsie daisy. Well, that plan backfired. That's okay. I grabbed the one next to it instead. Normally you'd go a little lighter, but you know, that's cool. And it all works out, we hope. So you can kind of see, in fact, this is kind of interesting. I'm going to take my blender, my colorless blender, and I'm going to blend a little, which will give it kind of some splotchy, streaky kind of a look. Zigzaggy, and it just looks kind of like wavy, kind of like a tie-dye. So I guess tie-dye, like, you know, the ocean water would be mismatched tones. Let me see if I can zoom in. You can see that. Let's see if you can see that. Got me knocking all my... So it'll lighten as it dries, but it kind of looks like it's a blend, and you'll see when the whole picture's done how that ends up looking. It's really easy. That's why you need the alcohol marker blenders. I like the Art and Fly 3-pack, and I only buy the 3-pack because I use them so much, and it's more budget friendly that way. All right, let's do then. We'll work our way to the left. Here we go. Doing the outline color. This one is the pastel blue. So far, these markers are really doing good for almost every purpose. Now, you know, sometimes you can't find every color you need for a picture in one set, but my challenge was to use only colors in this set to complete the needs of the picture, including skin tone for the base layer. Still considering going over the skin with a white pencil. All right. Try to work somewhat quickly. So it's still, each color's a little moist still when you start blending. And just kind of start closing in the colors. It's a little hassle, and you have to keep putting your lids back on, but that's all right. Another way to do this is to do this color second and that lighter mint color third. That would have worked as well, but the effect would be totally different. And we want them now to look consistent. Get the, oh, bollocks. That just, I just flung the, flung the nib right off. Whoopsie. Ignore me. Okay. I forgot this is a tight lid on. This is my Master's Touch blender. All my art flies ran out, so I ordered a 3-pack and it has not been delivered yet. Which are my favorite. What I do is I go around to all my fancy alcohol marker sets and I pull out all the blenders. I just keep them all together and I just, you know, they're all kind of the same. I just grab and use until they're gone. But once my art flies are gone, and then I go back and I buy the art fly. You can dab more on there and get kind of that effect. Then let's just do that across the top. You can watch or you can fast forward. I'm actually going to go to this corner. And if you have this set or buy this book, you could color along with me, or you could just take some of these techniques, try them in a different book. Again, this paper, this Derya paper is always a little bit of a gloss or more satiny, so it works well. It's not as dry as the standard Amazon paper, like in a Hannah Lynn book or a Deborah Muller book, which will suck up the alcohol marker ink a lot faster. So that's why I like it. I used to do a lot of my alcohol markers in Amazon books. I like all my original, like Deborah Muller books. Like the basic, not like the better ones, like the Joanna Basford and the R.J. Hampton books, the Coco Wyo's, the J. Summers, and all that jazz. Like, I used to do my alcohol markers in there, and I go back and I look at them, and they just don't look good. I mean, really compared to how they look on the Etsy type paper. Of course, I was using all cheaper markers. I won't use my good ones, expensive ones on the basic Amazon paper, the cheap paper, but you just can't get a lot of blending effects, you know. Yeah, I just have to go more toward pencil or pan pastels, chalk pencil. And if you don't want to leave it like that, you can just kind of, well, we'll dab some more color on after. We're going to blend in this center color into the other colors here. Pull that other blue into the green. Up to the green. Just any way you want to get that little, almost like zebra-ish effect. You're just kind of like moving the ink around and to make nonsensical patterns, and it looks kind of like wavy water. And see, this one's already lightening up. I don't know if you can see it, but we're gonna go to the top, actually the bottom, outline. All right. And I don't do the thing where you fast forward and fast motion these videos, because this is an actual color along. you can follow me while I do it if you're learning how to do certain things or just want to replicate a look. Some people, when they're showing you how they color something, they'll go, all of a sudden it's like 5 times the speed and some quirky, weird, funky music you don't really want to ever hear again. And then I don't even know how to do that. I'm sure there's a fancy phone feature. I'm just not like a videographer. I don't care about any of that. People know how to fast forward if they want to fast forward. It's not rocket science. Alrighty, I'm just gonna fill in that middle, swirl it on in there any way you like. And you don't want it to be symmetrical. You don't want, I mean, in one way, it doesn't completely matter the order you do it, except you don't want to totally do the lighter mint color and then do the 2 blues over it. You won't even see, so you do want to kind of separate the colors a little. I'm just kind of like creating like a little, it's like you're trying to wreck a piece of art. That's how I do my alcohol marker background with the blender. I'm trying to wreck it. Any attempt to have it look consistent, I'm intentionally wrecking for it to look natural. You can touch up any areas you don't like with pencils, like a couple hours once it's all dry or whatever. Alrighty, so we are going to, got the top of the water done. If I can zoom, you can see a little, although it's not dry yet. I'm gonna go back out. I'm gonna do these areas here. I don't always do backgrounds first. In fact, I hardly ever do them first. I just felt motivated to get out of the way because it was like the biggest part. Don't know why. I always do them last. For her tail, I chose it's called a seagrass green. Kind of like a turquoise, which is more of a greenish, jadey blue kind of a scenario, not like a bright blue turquoise. We'll see how that turns out. Sometimes, you know, most of the I'll admit, like 8 times out of 10, I put literally no pre-thought into any color scheme whatsoever when I start a picture, and it evolves as it goes. I don't even think, oh, I started pink here. What shades go good with that? Like, I just start grabbing colors. Like, I have just a good sense of what looks good together because I've been doing this since 2017. My mom was an artist as well, and I'm really into like fashion and coordinating outfits and handbags and hair accessories and shoes and everything. So I just have a good eye for, oh, jewelry. I have a good eye for mix and matching. Oops, I forgot that side part. But you see why the alcohol marker blenders run out fast if you do a lot of backgrounds. I mean, I'd say they last, I don't use them every day, but well, I don't know, do I? 3 or 4 days a week. All right. By the time I release this, it'll be right at the very end of May because I had a lot of to-dos on my list, but yeah. No one said you had to only do mermaids in May. Because I like fantasy. This is really the first year ever I've done only coloring mermaids in May. I'm not that into mermaids. I love fantasy and girly stuff. I don't like doing water, even though I've figured out ways to do it. And I don't like fish and ocean creatures that much. But, you know, like December, January, I do nothing but Christmas pictures. February, I do all winter pictures. You know, October, November, it's all, well, actually, October's all Halloween. November's all fall and autumn. April, May are all spring pictures. I kind of am very like thematic when I do what I choose to color versus, you know, times of year. Anyone else like that? It's just fun. Makes you feel more in the spirit if it's like Halloween or Christmas. We just found out that my 2-year-old grandson, who just turned 2, oh God, I lost my lid, is autistic. He's not talking still. He said a few words at 12 months and then he just stopped. And all the testing and all that, he's definitely has autism. So we're teaching him sign language. He's learned a few already. They don't think he'll be nonverbal. He might be more like not talking till he's 3 or 4, but so I've been having to read all this literature on, you know, autism and toddlers. It's hard with toddlers because it's like you know, it's funny. Like I pinpointed it. He must have been no more than 14 months, 15 months old. He won't really ever make eye contact with anybody, I noticed. And he's extremely, when he was a baby, like 6, I think he was still crawling, 6 months, 9 months, 10 months. We have a train tracks by my house. He would just take off. He would just be bawling if you hear the train in the background, like far away, even when there's a TV on. I wouldn't even hear it because I'm so used to it. He's terrified of trains, like hypersensitive to noise. And then also he's fixated on things that spin around. Like I had at Christmas a Mickey Mouse carousel with all the Disney characters that goes round and round. He would just sit there and stare at it for like 30 minutes without moving. And I'm like, that is odd. I've never seen a 1-year-old do that. They can't sit still long enough, you know? So like, I told my son, I think he might be autistic, and I guess that, and I've never even known anyone really that had a child with autism. So I guess grandmas know everything. All right. So we're done with the water. Those colors were frost blue, pastel blue, and mint blue. Mint blue was the middle color. I think it looks pretty. But you see how it's kind of looking all... That kind of gives that water look. All right, let's move on to her tail. A little nervous about the tail. I chose sea glass, mint green, aqua mint. And I want to make sure that one's still the darker one, is it? So there's different ways you can do mermaid tails, obviously. I gotta test that one real quick. Yeah. You know, some people, and I've done this, will literally color one little row of scales, one color in rows. Heck no, I don't have time for that. I mean, I've done that, but it was dumb that I did it in the first place. So I'm just gonna kind of change the color as I go. Another technique I like to do with the darkest one first, the seagrass 172. All right, okay. Just start coloring it up here. It is like a green you'd see in the ocean floor and maybe in some seaweed, or yeah, the grass that would grow on the beach, aka seagrass, or the grass that would be sticking out of the water, or the seagulls are flying all around, and or more in the, like the kind of swampier beaches. That's a really pretty green. Gosh, that's gonna make a great nature color. I'm only gonna go down to about there. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna grab my next color, the 58, the mint. I'm using the chisel on all these, and I'm gonna blend into this here. The great thing about alcohol marker, if you don't like the final look, you can go over anything with pencil, like one dark green over everything, which will just give it like some highlights and lowlights. All right, ooh, that looks nice. Now you can even go over that color with this and change it further. Oh, I like that too. I'm gonna do that all the way up here. I'm gonna do that into this area here. I like how that looks a lot. pretty. Okay. Me like it, me like it. I'm so funny. All right. Wow, that turned out better than expected. I'm not using the blender on this. I like it to look kind of solid. I mean, you could if you want, but then it'll detract from the blended, watery look. So, in fact, you know, in the movie Splash with Tom Hanks and what's her name with the something, Daryl Hannah, her scales were all like pale and whitish and yucky looking, like a fish scale in certain areas. God, that was probably the first real mermaid movie. Was that before The Little Mermaid, when Splash came out? That was, you know, that was the 80s, right? I have to admit, who thinks that the 80s made some of the best movies? So right now what I'm doing is I'm kind of outlining in this, the darkest, the 172, this quadrant, and then I'm going to fill in with that same mint green. Well, I think the 90s movies are the best, you know, because they're like all romantic comedy, you know, the great movies. Was it like the Congeniality movies, You Got Mail, and all those like romantic comedies that I loved. A lot of great 90s movies. A Few Good Men. 80s was, I mean, I've never got into the whole Pretty in Pink and Breakfast Club and all those, because I was kind of actually young when those came out. But 80s was actually known, I think, the best for music. Like, I am an 80s nostalgia music person all the way. MTV, I grew up on MTV. I want my MTV. Okay. Know what I'm babbling about. So we haven't used the lightest color yet. Actually, I lied. I just did. I think I just used that color right here. I just used the aqua mint right there on 179 because it has a little more blue hue. So what I want to do, let me think. I'm going to take the original darker color. I'm going to go over these more grayscale area. This is the 172. I think I might actually, I'm not going to outline this way. This time I'm going to work my way up in a block. But see how fast you can color your picture with alcohol markers? A pencil, it takes days to do a picture, not a couple hours. Days. So I'm doing solid to here. Then I'm going to do just the grayscale area here. A little right here. Okay, let's get the middle, the mint. Actually, I'm going to do the blue, the one we haven't used except once, the 179. The aqua mint, which is more of a blue. I'm going to do that one here. So we get a little more of that blue in here. Get her fingernails. I'm going to leave some space at the top for the other. Then I'm going to fill in the 58, the mint green. You can see how well these markers are. I mean, these are doing a real good job. They're not dry. They're not scratchy. They're vibrant. They're not as cheap as like some of the $20 sets for 50 or 80 you get on Amazon. You don't even know where they came from. Somewhere in China that doesn't have like a real company name. Even then, these are better than the Shuttle Arts. They might be on par. I think they're higher up than the Arctics. They're definitely more expensive, a little bit more expensive. And you can feel the difference. I have all the Arctics as well. And, oh, what is that? What is this area right here? Is that, oh my gosh. She's sitting on the shell. Oh, I thought this was like a shell behind her. She's literally sitting on inside and open like a clamshell, and I put all my pinks away. Gotta be kidding me. That is what that is, right? It's like open, her butt is inside it, and this is this, right? Okay, that's all right. No problem. Save that for last. Okay. So I don't remember the pinks I used. I have to go back and watch the beginning of my video to try to remember. Because I usually don't pull that back up until I list it in the comments below. I am going to try to list all these colors I used. If I have time in the more section below. But if you follow and color along, you'll hear me say them as we go in if you have this set. So that is pretty much it for her tail there. She has the scales. So you can see that's like the dark, a little bit of the mint, into the blue. And if you see that's a little too harsh right there, you can take the mint, which was this new color, and you can go over it some more. What I mean by harsh is the transition point, but a second layer is going to really darken it, as you can see. So we're just going to do it just so you can see, but you don't have to do this. I mean, sometimes the second layer is good. It makes everything kind of blend in better. And you'll see that darker color kind of show through in a different way. I just want you to kind of see how that might look. Actually, so that one looks more like a Christmas green. I kind of like that look too. You could also take that blue, which is pretty. I'm kind of tempted to do the blue at her waist here. That's the blue, the 179. Looks a little more natural transition. All right, so next for her, I want to take care of these scales upon her neck. So I'm going to just take a little bit of each of my 3 colors and try to do a little, each individual scale, a little of each color. I haven't decided about her tail. I mean her tail, not the fin tail. All right, I think that looks lovely. Let's make sure we get each one. I like to do the fingernails often the same color as generally as something that's in the tail, so I'm going to do that blue there. Yeah, I might do actually pink on her nails here because her hand is resting on the blue, so you wouldn't see them. So I'm going to use the colors I used in her lips for her nails. This is the 198. You don't want to do the similar color on top of a similar color or it won't show. Actually, yeah, I need to get that blue again. Gonna do that. Okay. Get that a sec to dry. So, I tempted to just do the same colors on her tail, or we could do something different. I'm gonna grab one different green. I'm gonna pause this. So I'm gonna use 2 of those original colors. Actually, one original color. I picked 46 Vivid Green. This is the 58 Mint Green we used, and then a new one, 144 Baby Blue for her tail. And what method am I going to do this? Think. All right, so I like to go darkest to lightest in these tails that have like their own strips, just one strip at a time, starting darkest, working our way down to lightest tips at the end. But if we do darkest first, the green is going to be first with the blue at the end, and we have green here, so you're going to see green on green. So the question is, do you want to have that blue stand out more, you could do start green here and work your way up to the blue. Sometimes you have to visualize what will look better. I'm thinking because there's blue water, it shouldn't end in the blue. So we're going to do the green down here, start on the bottom and work our way up to the blue. Darkest to lightest upward. So let's take the first. This is Vivid Green. Here we go. Now, for the sake of the time of the video, I'm not going to do one at a time, but if I was doing it on my own, I would. I'm actually going to try to fill in my solid green all the way across and then blend the whole side and blend up from there. But you can do one at a time, or you could do each one different color. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, rotating colors. That can look pretty neat. I'm almost tempted to do that as well. But I think we're going to go for the blending route. So I'm going to just start. This is a beautiful emerald green. It's so Irish. Irish St. Patty's Day green. It's, oh my gosh, look at, this is gonna be a beautiful earth tone. Oh, there's a lot of greens in this set, and I love my earth tones because I love nature pictures the most. This is pretty. I think that's sufficient. Let's go to that mint green. Let's try to start blending in right away. I try to start blending right over where I stopped first. Forgot that one, but that's okay. To get that part while it's still wet, blend it right at that seam there. Then start going down. This color, gonna save room for our blue. So this is the fast, easy way to blend. Let's get that pretty blue. This is the 144. Wow, I love that green. That's one of my favorite greens I think I've seen. All right, this is pretty. Darn, am I good. Completely just eyeballed, color coordinated that. I'm gonna blend that blue upward into that last one a little. Oops, went over, that's okay. No big whoop. I think that's it. We could, you know, use a blender, but I want to keep things solid. I love how that looked. We do have obviously 3 different colors here. So again, you could do this stripe. One, do green, blue, the other green, blue, the first green, blue, the other green, blue, like that. You could do that, would be pretty too. Wow, that really looks a lot better than I imagined it would. Love when that happens. Let's go up here. So this one is just that first green again, the 46. What a pretty green. Oh, I can hear that train going by, the one I was just talking about, because I don't have any music or anything on. It's actually not even that close, and it's amazing how you can go rah, 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 every time they're like warning you, watch out, don't be an idiot and jump in front of this train or you're gonna get killed. Like anybody wouldn't really hear coming down the tracks. Like you really have to announce it with a horn. I mean, okay, if you're walking across train tracks with headphones on, I don't know. I mean, trains are loud. If I can hear it like blocks away, I mean, how can you be crossing the track so close to a rumbling train? I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. All day long. We got an Amtrak and an industrial. All the Amtraks go by here. Product delivery trains. I mean, I've been here for 18 years. I don't really notice it most of the time, and it doesn't like bother me unless I'm on some kind of a work type Zoom type call. I did not go down enough unless I want a lot more blue. I also cut over to my other green too quickly, but that's all right. There we go. It's okay. A little more blue on one side. Let's just start blending that in. Sand is super easy. You just need like a light beige color, maybe 2, or a beige color in a blender. Very easy. There we go. Pretty, pretty mermaid tail all done. Now this one is fading. Do I want to darken it a little? Yeah, if you do that though, you're going to see the blend line. See how it's already, it lightens when it dries a little. That's all right. All right, well, we are done. Actually, now that I have this baby blue, I'm going to fill in these. I'm going to show you how I do water bubbles. I usually use like a, not this kind of blue. I tend to use more of a blue like this. That's like a soft, but not like a baby or pastel blue. And I leave a little hole there. Or I'll just do very light right there. Okay. And then take your alcohol marker blender and swirl it in the center to lighten it right there. Or you can, you know, lighten the whole thing. And it'll look more like a water bubble. There we go. Very easy. Can do that with all of them. I need the fine tip. Do my water bubbles. Little ones I just do whole usually. I'll just go over there with the blender in a minute. All right, we're gonna pick one first. It almost makes it look like you're softened it with a white pencil, but it leaves that kind of wavy-ish, tie-dye-ish look there. All right, there. Gosh, I keep dropping my pens today. What's wrong with me? Okay, 2 more bubbles. The big bubble here. I have not decided at all what color to do the fish or her hair. That will be, how long is this video? No, this whole video might be like 2 hours, but I do it in pieces and I paste them all together, so to speak. Okay, oops. There you go, the little bubbles, water bubbles are done. So her hair, I'm gonna think about that. So I do have colors for the turtle. So let's do that. I'm gonna zoom. Can I? Alexa, no one asked you.
Sorry, I thought I heard my name.
No, you didn't hear it. Let go. Oh man, I can't quite get that in the camera, can I? There we go. Little turtle, little turtle. Turtles are hard, man, because they're so like splotchy of all different greens and browns. What I like to do is take my darkest brown, in that case I picked 95 burnt sienna. Put that there. I have a couple of greens, 42 bronze green, 166 arctic green. Actually, I'm going to swap out mahogany 96. I'm going to keep my burnt sienna for a different area. All right, I'm just testing my little test sheet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to color some of this 42 inside each little turtle piece. Inside this little like pattern line, which we're going to go over with the dark brown. And then I'm going to take the 166 Arctic green. It's kind of mossy color. Go over that. Blend it into the middle, kind of. Hoping that will work. I need the pointy part. I should do more color alongs. I feel like I don't hardly ever do them. Is that something you guys would actually, anyone actually watch and do any of my color alongs? Am I literally just talking to myself for all this time? If anyone actually does this, I'd love if you could leave me a comment and tell me so I know that someone is actually looking or watching or would want to do any of my color alongs, because it does take a lot of time and it's fun. So I'm going back over each one a couple times to kind of blend that brown in, and the green kind of works like a blender because it's lighter than the brown and it softens the brown into it. I'm going to take this darker mahogany 96 and I'm going to go over the lines, the turtle here. Now a turtle might be a little more olivey green than this one, but I like this green. Like a darker army green, I think is more like what a turtle is. My pictures, I can do a different green if I like, because I like turtles that are bright. I'm going to do the outline line of his shell. It's smearing a little into the sort of quadrants there, but it's all right. You have to, I'm like, my face is literally up to it, so otherwise you probably can't tell that much. That looks pretty. I'm satisfied. Let's take this color. I chose 171 Jade Green. I'm gonna first do the whole foot. You'll see what and then I'm gonna go over each of those little squares on his head and feet with a brownish color. Oops. Careful not to go outside the lines, which is okay because you're gonna color that brown. It'll be covered up. I guess I could use the pointy end. There you go. Now I'm going to take burnt burnt sienna. Did I use that one? Shoot. I think I did mahogany for the last one. 95 is burnt sienna. Guess we'll find out. I'm going to do each little spot. Careful as I can. Very hard to get to not bleed tiny areas. You have to barely dab it where you want it. Okay. Sometimes it looks like turtles have black spots or dark green spots, but I like the more natural colors on them. It's all right. This wasn't quite as dark as I thought it would be. Darn it. No big deal. That pointy part of his shell, I don't know what color that would be realistically. I'm gonna do like a yellow. That's probably like a blackish color. My little fantasy turtle that's not anywhere closely realistically colored whatsoever. This is Yellow Ochre 101. It looks nice though. I will go back and do that shell off camera too. Just do, well, actually, no, I said I was gonna do the whole thing on camera, so I'm gonna do the whole thing on camera. All right, I don't want to chip anybody. That's it. I will need of the black 120 for a few reasons. One, to go around his eye, make it prominent, more prominent. And then I'll go back and I'll do the fish in her eyes later. So let's zoom out and see how this whole thing looks together. It's coming together. So I'm going to be stopping this video. I'm going to choose my sand colors and see how the sand is shaped like a heart. Find the pinks I used for here, because I don't remember my fish colors and her hair color. She has a fin here. I need to do that with these colors. I just realized. Let's do that real quick. These are the same greens. This is the 46 Vivid Green. Did not even see that. I totally missed it. This is the 58. And this is the 144. All right, that's pretty. All right, for her, I'm thinking brunette because it'll bring out the brown in the turtle and the sand. So I need to play with all my browns, find good colors for each, and I'll be back. Either this will be all one video or 3 parts. I haven't decided yet. So for now, I'm pausing the video. All right, well today we're finishing this video off with the sand, hair, and the fishes. I have to show that this set does not have the ideal color for sand. These are all the browns I swatched out on a paper. And as you can see, none of them are close, light enough, like a very light tan or sand color. This one is called sand and it's like a peach, so that's a joke. That one had a little too much pink in it. I think I narrowed down to a couple, and then I'm going to use the alcohol blender. See if I can fade it out a little. Obviously you need a very light tan beige for sand, and none of the skin tones worked. So, you know, that is the downside in one marker set for an entire picture. You know, unless you're using your gigantic Copic set, you know, you may not have exactly what you need for certain natural elements. So we're gonna hope for the best. For her hair, I'm gonna use a couple of browns, one that overlaps with the sand color for a little bit of coordination. So let's do that and pray it works. Okay, not feeling well. First I'm gonna do her hair. For her hair, I chose mahogany and burnt sienna, and I'm going to use a teeny bit of one of these other colors. These are a little darker, and I'm going to use the fine point. I'm going to start with 96 mahogany, and I'm going to just go over some of these darker line areas with it, where you see the black kind of at the roots, like some darker kind of roots here. Got a little dark pocket there. I talked, yesterday I released a video. I was reviewing these 2 coloring books that are kind of old. They're Buster Activity books, and they're harder to come by. You can find some on eBay from secondhand sellers. I think eBay still, Amazon, I mean, from secondhand sellers, and I think eBay has them too, but Amazon carries one of them. But they're by Anne Kronheimer, the artist, and I think they're meant for kids, but they look really adult-like. because there's so many details. And the one I reviewed is Fashion Through Time, which I really liked, and the Princess coloring book. So a very girly type, lots of little whimsical kind of details and stuff, which is a lot of fun stuff. And I also reviewed or showed you like 5 or 6 Etsy and Patreon printables for Month that I still haven't colored that I need to get to. But in that video, I talked quite a bit about my current medical scenario, if you haven't heard that, with my complications from my implant or my expanders after my mastectomy and this infection I've got going on. And I mentioned I have one little part left on my Mermaid color along finish, which is what I'm doing now. But check that video out if you haven't seen it. They're really neat books, actually. I like them. And they're ones you don't hear of as often. So, but like my heart feels like it's racing. I think it's from the antibiotics or something. Or I'm constantly dehydrated because I can't keep up with my fluids because of this fever. All right, so next I'm using 95 Burnt Sienna. And for this, I'm going to go up to the root and just kind of start pulling down that color I did. I want mostly this darker color at the top of her head. We can fix anything. And wherever you see I did some of that darker brown, I'm just going to go fully over with this marker. There's no real rhyme or reason way to do this, because in the end it all gets covered. I just go over those, around those kind of areas with this middle tone. And then we're going to go with one lighter tone to fill it all in. So that hair will look, as hair does, kind of multi-tonal. I'm going to go to the pointy end so I can get a little bit up here. Leave some white area for that final color. All right, now I'm going to take the 97 Mocha, and I'm going to use the chisel end. I just flung my cap. Flung it by my feet. Use the chisel end, and I'm just going to point blank go straight over both colors with it. So I basically put some low lights underneath. That's what I did. And this just kind of ties everything together, and it's real easy. Grayscale hair, light grayscale in particular, like you see in these Derya or Christine Caron books, are so easy for hair. You just need like 3 different shades of the same color, and you can whip out some great looking hair that I think looks really natural. I'm gonna have to switch to the smaller nib here in a minute. I mean, sometimes you'll see someone's hair like, oh, it's straight jet black. But most people, especially if they're brunettes or different blondes, you really see like, and a lot of it's because we've colored our hair different shades over the years, and then it starts to fade, and some of the real color lightens in this area more than that area. Or you see undertones of red because all the time we did our hair red, now we're back to brown. But usually, and blondes that are like, not like bleach, but what they call dishwater. You just see kind of, like if you were to buy a wig, wigs.com or something like that, and you read a description for a wig, it'll say, you know, color 37 AB 96 blah blah blah, deep red with dark brown roots, golden highlights, and strawberry streaks, you know, whatever, like, and then they explain exactly the different colors they kind of use to get the tonality difference there. I do have to go back and finish that shell. I just now realized. back during COVID, I couldn't get my hair done, you know, when everything was closed, like the beauty parlor. So a friend of mine was like, go to wigs.com. You can get your gorgeous hair of your dreams. And they have like really professional looking, like, I mean, wigs. And like, that's when she made me realize, and I started researching, that almost every single actress in almost all TV shows and movies are wearing wigs. And, you know, so she's like, buy a wig, and every time you go on Zoom for work, you just pop it on. You don't have to worry about your hair. And you know, I had long hair, so I had to learn how to tuck it back. And because I was getting gray roots and stuff like that, and my darker brown was fading, so it was now kind of like mismatched brown, like light brown, my natural, and I like dark brown. So I bought several different in dark brown. I got like a medium and a short and whatever. And I chose a couple that looks very similar, almost identical to my real hair, but it looks like it was perfectly done at a salon. And yeah, I just pop it on 2 minutes before. Saved a lot of time doing my hair, and I got kind of addicted to that. So it was really kind of fun. It was like, wow, I have salon hair every day. I didn't have to lift more than a finger for about 20 seconds. But yeah, I learned a lot. I used to watch like wig reviews on YouTube, and yeah, you don't have to not have hair to wear wigs. Believe me, like there's probably 50% of women have hair and plenty of hair that are wearing wigs. They just don't, they like variety. They don't like styling their hair. They want thicker hair, yada yada. So I have them still. I haven't done that in a long time because I don't go on camera that much anymore. There we go. So we need to do her eyebrows. So I think it looks really pretty. What I like to do is take the 96, that dark one again, or even a darker brown if you can find one. Go back in to those dark pockets to give it a little more contrast. A little more shadow wherever you originally used that dark. This was the 96 where I did originally. And these techniques I'm showing you here, you can do on, you know, hair anywhere, or any picture. You don't have to even be doing this picture. So now that I have the dark in hand, I'm gonna go ahead and do her eyebrows. I need to find a skin tone to fill in her part. I'm gonna do her eyebrows, a few dots of the dark, and then I'm going to get the medium, just like I blended her hair. I'm just not going to use the third color, I don't think. Okay, these nibs are almost too thick to do eyebrows, but I think we did it. I'm just going to grab a skin tone like my light almond and do her part. There we go, super easy. That's the 133. All right, I need to do this little fin here. I'm just gonna do a little blue that we did in her tail. This is the 144, the baby blue. Make it real simple. It's the baby blue. And there's a bubble I missed down here, so I'm gonna do this bubble. And I'm gonna get my blender. Now we're gonna tackle the sand. All right, well, I really God, I debated over this one so much. Oh man, none of these colors are right for sand, but I'm gonna, because it has this heart, and I wanted, I'm gonna do the little darker in the blacker areas, then the brown that's a tad lighter, and then I'm gonna do the lighter one in the heart, and then really alcohol blender it out to fade it out, kind of like we did in that background. Hope that works. So let's give it a shot. This is the 97 Mocha, and I'm going to start up here and just, oh, it's just too dark. It's more like dirt, but whatever. I promised I'd do all the colors with this. set, so gotta stick to that. It's a dirty ocean floor. Before that dries, I want to grab my next color, 102, the raw umber, and blend around it before it has a chance to fade. Now, it is true, remember, these colors will fade as they dry after 10 minutes, so let's see what happens with that. Oh man, I tested every skin tone, everything that I could possibly get to work for sand from the set, and this was like the best I could do. It's kind of frustrating. All right, let's go back to the 97. Get some of this little darker area here. I'm just gonna swirl it up a little, go around it. But you know how long it takes when you do pencil sometimes, and I don't like to always just do pencil because it takes forever. All right, I wish I had a lighter one to go in this heart, but I don't. Or we could do the darker one in the heart. Let's give that a second to fade. I'm gonna think about that for a second. Let's go over here in this darker grayscale area with the 97. Okay, I'm just gonna start filling it in. Still on the fence with my fish colors. Just haven't decided yet. I just kind of wanted to do something in the periwinkle purplish color. Because I haven't done any purples from this set to show you guys. All right. I'll let this fade here. Let me look at my color thing again. I can maybe get away with this one, but I did not mark what color that is, did I? I believe that is that the caramel brown? I can try that. Oh man, this is such a risk. I'm gonna go with the caramel brown, the 103. And we're gonna do this heart. And then I'm gonna alcohol blender it. Just so you see a little contrast. If we used any of these other same two colors, it wouldn't be obvious that it was like a heart, really. I have to go to the fine tip here to get these smaller areas. While it's still wet, I'm gonna get my blender and shovel it up and see if I can lighten this up. But, oh man, that end is about dry. Oh, come on. Always get stuck. This one, I can't open the end I need. Oh, there we go. I'm running out of alcohol in this one. And don't assume alcohol blender means you have to have two colors to blend. You can just use that straight on your own color to give it like a little bit of a shape and pattern and lighten it up, as I'm doing here. Okay, that's good. That's good. I was hoping for something like that. Not the best sand colors, but you know, it'll do. And pickings are slim. I have 100 20 colors. You could, they should have like a light beige of some kind. And there's one that's called beige, and it's like peach, totally peach-like. Beige to me is like sand color, like khaki pants in a very light shade, you know, not like the mid khaki or darker khakis, the tan ones. That's looking good. I'm gonna do this and this. And this is the 103. Okay. I think it looks well and good. Just gonna try to get in there while the ink is still a little wet. My window's open. There's a dog losing his mind in someone's yard. All right. I think that's good, because if I'd used either of those same two colors, it wouldn't be enough of a different look. I realized we haven't done her eyes, and I think I generally like to bring one of the colors into her eyes from the picture, from her whole attire, so to speak. So I'm going to pick a different blue though. I'm going to pick sky blue, and I have that baby blue. I'm going to do this sky blue. And I'm going to try to use just do the top part of her eyeball next to that white iris. And then I'm going to take the baby blue 144 and do the bottom part. Very easy. Now we could do the same blue in her tail, do the blues on these fish with a little purple is what I'm thinking of doing. So I'm going to pause this for 1 second and pick my purples, and we'll get the fish, and then we're going to be about done. I just need some final touches with makeup and everything. Okay, so what we're going to do for these fish, we're going to use these colors I picked here. We're going to start with 76 Sky Blue. And then we're going to use 83 Lavender. Line these up left to right in order. 144 Baby Blue and 178 Cool Shadow. All right, how am I going to do this? I'm going to start with the blue at the top. We're going to do very similar to what we did on her tail. This first kind of quadrant, I'm going to do this kind of striking blue. This is the blue we put in her eyes. So we have some, and I have to touch that up, but we have some color coordinations here. I'm going to do the 83 purple. And we're just going to kind of blend that in and over a little. There you go, give it a little transition. There. I'm going to do the 144. Start blending into that purple. Leave a little space. Blend it up into the purple. And when I do that, it changes the purple color where it overlaps, and it gives it a nice transition, but it looks more like rainbow fishy. Then we're going to do the 178, which is like a lavender, light lavenderish gray. I'm going to finish off this tail. go up into the blue. I'm gonna go all the way up into the blue for this one. And even gonna blend a little where the blue and the purple meet. Now you can take this lightest color and use it almost as an alcohol blender and kind of blend over everything, which will change the colors but kind of bring things together. Or you can just leave it straight like it was. All right, I like that. There's certainly a lot of other ways you can do this with multiple colors, but I like that. Let's do the same on the other side, then we'll deal with their heads. Their ugly heads. We could do, I'm gonna say we could do that backwards, make them different, but we'll just keep them the same because they look like the same exact kind of fish. This is the 76 again. Go for the purple. The 83. The 144. Bring that blue up, which makes almost like a fourth purple shade, which is interesting. Then the cool shadow, which is, oh yeah, kind of like a purpley grayish shadow. Bring that into the blue. I'm gonna just use this to kind of blend everything together. This video is, taking me a couple days of different filling, so I'm trying to get it done because I feel bad. Okay. I think it looks good. So for the head, you can pick from any of these 4 colors and do the head with some detail. I think I'm going to go with the blue, the darkest blue, 76 around the eye here. I'm also going to touch that into her eye again. The top. I'm going to do around the eye. Then I'm going to straight up do the 2 lighter colors, the baby blue and the cool shadow. Just going to do a little bit around the top part. Then I'm going to get that cool shadow, fill it in. And blend it all together. You can pull that color down to the fins if you don't like the overlap there. I don't like doing fish, so I don't generally put a lot of effort into it, but if all else fails, do a bright orange yellow with blue stripes like Finding Nemo. And the gills. Okay, I'm gonna take the dark blue down to the tails, which is the original color we started with at the top of the scales. Just do like half the tail. For any good sized fish, I think 4 good coordinating colors is about all you need. And then the purple. And we'll just blend those 2, which is the opposite to the colors we used on the head. pull the purple up into the blue. Now, if that's too harsh of a line, we can fix that. Gotta get that pointed end a little. Just soften up that line by bringing more of this purple into the blue. There you go. You can't see it as much where the one color stops and the other starts. All right, so then we just need to do a couple of these, and I'm going to do each one its own color. So I'm doing just the straight purple, the 83 here, just the straight purple, the 83 here, just the straight purple, the 83 here, also here. All I have left after, actually I want to do purple on his lips too. I do want to put some eye makeup on her. I prefer to do that with Prismacolor pencils. And I need a white paint pen to finish up her eyeballs. I'm doing the darker blue 76 for these little fins here. All right. I think this turned out very nice. See how fast I'm trying to go so this video isn't too long. I'm gonna do his gill up here. Yeah, I think that's sufficient. We could make the face look a little more modelly looking, mottled. Like a fish might look kind of blotchy with the alcohol blender here. So what I have left is I need to finish that shell. I'll pause that where I grab those colors. I'll probably just do it off camera and remind you which colors they were. And continue recording, and then we'll go find my paint pen and we will finish up their eyes, eyelashes, and we are all done, I think. Okay. All right, so I finished the shell off camera. Again, it was medium pink and peach for those with the alcohol blender. I decided I'm not going to do eye makeup with shadow with my Prismacolors. I'm going to do stickles for some final details. So what I need for that is a Papermate black fine liner, some kind of a white acrylic paint pen or Posca, a thin one, and I have 3 stickles, Cool Mint, Hibiscus, and Mermaid foil. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my white acrylic pen, and this is my T5 very nice acrylic paint pen I use for little eye dots. I'm just going to whiten and widen the white parts of her eye so you can see it better. Also on the fish. Alexa, cancel. I'll do it on this fish. You can't see, he's off camera, but that's the only place I really need any white. You can add white details wherever you want. Oh, I'm going to put a little white in the turtle's eye. All right. So then that's super simple. I'm going to, actually, no, her eyes aren't big enough for any additional details. Sometimes I like to do a little bit of a this one might be too dark. Little white squiggle. On the lips, at the top and bottom there. It's a great pen. If I can find it, I'll link it below. I'm going to get my Papermate Black Flare. This one might almost be too wide of a tip for how small her eyes are for the eyelashes. Maybe not. I can't find my normal one I use. Now I know it looks like those white irises are big, but I have this camera super zoomed in. When you have the whole picture in full, as you can see, it looks right. You don't really notice. All right, so I'm gonna try to give her a few eyelashes on the bottom, but I worry this is just too big. I think it's all right. And do the stickles last? I'm not giving her any on top because I'm gonna do stickles. Oh, I forgot to put a little black on her nose hole there to darken that up a little. And if you feel the fish need a little more black around the paint, the white dot, you can do that after it dries. So for the stickles, I'm going to do this purple, it's actually called Mermaid Tail, which kind of matches her colors and these fish. I'm gonna make sure it's gonna come out. This one's not dry, is it? Okay. I'm gonna do that just on her eyes, above her eyes. I'm gonna dot it, and then I'm gonna use the tip to almost look like a glitter eye makeup. Just dab it in with the tip after you stop squeezing. Right there. Gotta let this dry, leave the book open for like 2 hours after this, but just put it in with the tip. You could add, you know, stickly purple lips on your fish to match if you like. I like little details like that. Let's zoom out. I'm gonna do also this fish's lips. And then I'm gonna use stickles on her nails over the marker we did. Thinking, all right, I got a pink stickles. It's not the greatest pink, but it'll work to go over her nails to make them sparkle. The marker shows through because these are pretty translucent. Just dab a little on there. Just makes them look a little more pink and sparkly. You don't want to put stickles straight on uncolored nails because it won't fully, you'll see kind of the white through it, if that makes sense. Won't look as real. That's good. And then on her green nails, I'm going to use this green Cool Mint. Oh man, that one I cut the end off. Shoot, hope that doesn't come out too hard. We'll give it a shot. Occasionally your stickles will get so clogged you have no choice but to cut the end off. Her nails up here. And then you can't see, I mean you can see it up close, but from your angle you probably can't. And then I'm gonna do that blue fin by her ear. I also have, where's my lip sparkler? This is my Spectrum Noir gloss. Just need to test it out here. See if it's dry. Oh, it's not fully dry. Got a little sparkle left. So I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do and go straight over the fish scales so it's shining. If you're not sure you like the look, I got too much coming out, but damn. All right. I'm doing the other one, you can't see, but that one came out a little too much. I need to zoom out. Okay, there you go. Didn't get it out. So we're making this fish look kind of shiny and scaly. That's what we're doing. Including his fins and everything. More so, not the tail, just the body. I also like to do this on lips. Like a little lip gloss. I want to put this on the scale behind her ear and the one on her face. Kind of more like a shiny. Now I'm gonna do this one up here. Now you don't have to do any of these details. This is just my fun kind of stuff. I could theoretically do her tail if we want it to look like a shiny fish tail. And I'm gonna give it a shot down here. Very light. I used up a lot of what I had squeezed to the tip. I'm doing it just a very light amount compared to what gushed out onto that poor fish. There we go. There's a train going by again. There we go. All right, and I think we are done. You can always find, you know, more details and things to do, but do we want to make our turtle have any shine? Can make a little shine on his shell in these little green areas here. Everything under the ocean is slimy. Now I think I'm gonna zoom in what I did. It's got to dry, obviously. Zoom in. You can see I did a light layer on her tail. A little bit on that clear on the turtle. On this other fish. And here. Very easy. That all has to dry. And we are done. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing this. I have to record a little intro video to all of my video parts before I put it together. Let me know if you guys learned anything or enjoyed watching, and hopefully you check out these Kingart markers. Highly recommended. Obviously they did a beautiful job.